And we're on. Hey guys, I am here with Dana. And what was your name, sweetie?
Clara.
I'm
Clara.
sorry?
Clara.
Clara. I'm here with Dana and Clara, and we're going to keep this one a little bit super short because you've got a student, a music student coming up, right?
Yeah, actually a student for general education tutoring, not just music.
Oh, not just music. Okay, so you teach more than music. You teach several things?
Actually, I really use music as one of my teaching methods, but my main focus is general curriculum, pre-K through 12.
Okay. Awesome. And you teach right there at your house, or do you go somewhere to do that?
Normally, I actually work out of the public library, but since I am in the midst of 2 foot surgeries, I've been working out of my house because it's a little harder to get around.
Ah, awesome. And so the reason I wanted to bring you on is because you've had a really, really incredible transformation, a really, really awesome story with your keto journey. But before I dive into that, can you tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you do, what you guys have been up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're over here in Chicago in the Midwest, wishing it was still summer. We had snow today for the first time. And
Ooh.
Clara's 9 years old, and I've been on this journey that's been leading me towards keto, which I started about 6 months ago. But I've really been heading in this direction for the past 5 or 6 years, or really you could say for the past 9 years, because my digestive issues really started after I gave birth to my baby girl, who's a little bit bigger now. But I had all sorts of digestive problems and things that were bothering me. And I saw so many doctors and specialists trying to figure out what was going on. And they were telling me all sorts of isolated things, that I had internal organ prolapse due to pregnancy, which apparently is a really common thing. And I had no idea. Apparently, America is one of the only civilized countries that does not incorporate discussion of that in its maternal care. So unfortunately, that was something I had to figure out on my own. So I went through basically every elimination diet on doctors' recommendations, starting with cutting out dairy and then cutting out grains, which I thought my life was over at that point because those are my 2 favorite food groups. Bread and cheese I could eat for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. But I did it because I wanted to feel better. I tried Whole30. I ultimately went paleo, and really nothing was helping me the way it needed to. And I had been hearing, I'm sure like so many people the last year, more and more about the ketogenic diet. And I was really resistant to learning about it or reading more about it because I had already been through so much with my diet and with eliminating things. I was like, I don't want to eliminate anything else. So I finally read up on it and I realized what was involved. And, fast forward to here we are and I feel amazing.
Yeah. So in addition to feeling amazing, I imagine your digestion is better. What other kinds of benefits have you really seen in the last, what did you say, 6 months since you got started?
Yeah, about 6 months. About 6 months ago, I was just kind of scrolling on Instagram and I saw this guy, Brian Couch, on Instagram. And I was like, well, this guy looks like he's got something interesting to say. So I reached out and he wrote me back right away. And I was super excited to learn, after having learned how hard the keto diet is to sustain. Because carbohydrates are in everything. I was like, how am I supposed to reduce carbohydrates if it's really in everything that I'm eating? And unbeknownst to me, everything that I had found and tried to replace with this for the stuff that I had cut out with all of my other dietary restrictions were super high carb, like almond crackers and plantain chips and all the stuff that was giving me the satisfaction of the stuff I was missing. But was actually, little did I know, making me feel much worse. So I learned about exogenous ketones from you, and I was so excited to hear about the concept. But of course, like many people, and many people who've been through what I've been through for whatever reason have gone through this whole process of trying to figure out what can I eat to make me feel good. I was skeptical. But then I joined this super secret Facebook group, this keto community, and I was just reading testimonial after testimonial of people who had tried these exogenous ketones, and like it was completely life-changing. They were able to follow a ketogenic diet without being super strict about what they were eating, because the ketones put you in ketosis no matter what. And it seemed like it was worth a try. So I decided to go for it. And when I first got my samples, it was maybe 36 hours after my first packet. I was on a run, I was going down the road, and at the point where I'm usually really, really tired and thinking, okay, I'm done, I was like, I have more energy than usual. I could probably keep going. So that was my first indication, like 36 hours after starting to take these ketones. And since then, it's just been like a complete avalanche of benefits. And it feels like the longer I take the ketones and try to eat keto and follow this ketogenic path, and the deeper into ketosis I get, the bigger the benefits. So energy was first. My mood was second. You know, I was definitely a victim of being hangry all the time, eating, feeling hungry like 10 minutes later and being like, what's going on? And just being emotional. And I'm a pretty solid person, but you know, I just had this underlying anxiety that was always kind of bothering me. That kind of disappeared. And I was like, I'm feeling pretty chill. And then I felt like my skin was smoothing out, and my hair was shinier. Like everything on the outside was feeling better. And within a few days, I had dropped some of the bloat that I was carrying around. So like a few pounds, I think, of water weight came off pretty quickly. And then the most amazing thing happened. All of the things that I had been trying to help my digestion, which had not worked for me, all of a sudden my digestion was starting to work. Like the whole process was going again. Before, I felt like I would eat and it would just stay inside me forever. Like things would just get stuck. And then, you know, without giving too many details, because everybody can kind of put those pieces together, everything was moving freely. And it felt normal. And I ate and I felt good and I was energized. And the longer I was doing it, the better that was becoming. So I feel like this was huge for my digestive process. And then most recently, I had foot surgery, bunion surgery on my right foot. And actually my left foot surgery is in just a few days. And I had to go for my pre-operation physical, and I got a whole blood workup and everything. And this was the first time that I saw doctors since starting the keto diet. And so I was really curious to see if internally I was as healthy as I was feeling. And it turns out I was. Like my blood panel was healthier than it's ever been. And my doctor couldn't believe the results. And I have a lot of doctors because I've got all of these specialists and different people that I see. And I was so excited to tell all of them about all of these positive benefits. And of course, you know, the Western medical community is still kind of catching up to what we know.
Yeah,
you know?
That's super interesting, because I know that, like, I listen to a couple of specific doctors and researchers and stuff, and a lot of people are just blown away with, you know, why has this metabolic therapy not been a thing sooner? Why, you know, look at all these benefits that come forward to it. And they're huge proponents of the ketone conversation, whether it's through diet, through implementing some form of fasting, or even like you were talking about with just adding in exogenous ketones, adding in ketones that you can drink, that taste delicious, that put you in ketosis within 30 minutes to an hour. You know, they started talking about that. Yet there's still a chunk of the Western medical world that's still kind of skeptical about it, that's still not totally sold on how awesome it is. And so you went forward with this to how many different doctors?
Well, I mean, at least, let's say between 6 and 10. But if we include my parents' doctors, because I've gotten them on the keto train also, and they are dealing with all sorts of very specific issues having to do with neurodegenerative stuff and, you know, internal digestion, all sorts of stuff. And their doctors are super excited about it too. So the feedback that I've seemed to get from all of these doctors are, wow, yeah, I've been hearing about this, but of course they're not trained in it, so they don't necessarily recognize it. Like the first doctor that I saw was like, well, your cholesterol looks very high, so we're gonna have to put you on medication. That was her first response. And I had thankfully done my research and found out that actually when you transition to a high-fat diet, as would be expected, there's a little spike in your cholesterol, but then that evens out after about at least, let's say, 6 months or so. So I was happy to be able to come back with that and say, well, you know, here's what I've learned from my keto doctors. And since then, it's all confirmed, like this is the way it's supposed to be.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, all the doctors have been giving me the thumbs up, and when they've heard about my results and they're doing their research and coming back at us, they're all like, this is great. You know, keep moving forward with it, which is the best confirmation I can take.
I love that. They're like, yeah, we got a pill for you. And you're like, actually, I heard that it's kind of temporary and it's going to be okay. And then he's like, oh, really? Okay, well, let me go do some research and stuff and learn. You know, what is that? The oath, Hippocratic oath, right? That they have to do their best to learn about these things. And so, although this ketogenic, you know, way of life has been around since the 30s, it was like shoved off into a corner only for people with epilepsy and seizures, and then really proven, I guess, has brought this ketone conversation to the masses in huge ways. I'm seeing in Walmart they have keto coffees, and you know, at GNC's and even at Gold's Gym they're selling, you know, keto related stuff, and everything's kind of starting to go the way that, you know, realizing that, okay, you can run on carbs primarily and you can run on fat primarily. And maybe some people are incredible sugar burners and they're great at burning carbs. And I happen to actually be pretty damn good at burning carbs. And then maybe other people are really bad at it and it causes metabolic syndrome and all kinds of problems that, you know, they're just not able to deal with. And switching over to a perfectly good alternate fuel source that's actually the heart and the brain prefer ketones as a fuel source over glucose, that's absolutely awesome. Yeah. So I know that you don't have too much more time. So I did want to get a couple of tips from you. So if somebody's watching this and they've been thinking about it, they've been wondering, you know, I want to give it a go. You know, do I try it with fasting? Do I do keto? Do I drink ketones? Do it? Where's a great first place for that person to start to learn a little bit more, or to really get started, to get moving, you know, towards their version of better?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, everybody's better is different. And I feel like for me, the first thing that I did was starting with intermittent fasting. That seemed something that it was easy. I was able to do. I was kind of already on a 12-12 schedule where I wasn't eating for 12 hours and then I was eating for 12 hours. So I started trying to increase my fasting time. And now I'm on a 16-8 schedule pretty regularly. And right away, I was feeling like that was already helping my digestive stress a lot. It was easing it.
Yeah.
So that was a good starting point for me. And within a few days of that, I started the exogenous ketones. And I feel like that just put me over the edge. And this whole, you know, burning fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates, I am completely sold. And I feel like it's really been able to attack the root cause of all of these symptoms that I've been feeling, that, you know, it's been so frustrating because I know they're all connected somehow, but every doctor is telling me, well, you can take this for this, or you can do this for this. So this is the first thing that I've been able to find that really kind of approaches the whole person, you know, not just inside, but outside as well, like mentally and physically. I just feel right on. And so I think intermittent fasting is a great place to start. You know, as far as the diet goes, you can get the door if you want. You know, a diet, we call it a diet, but it's not really. But I slowly reduced my carbs. You know, I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I don't count calories. I don't track my macros. I know a lot of people do, and it's really helpful for them in order to achieve their goals. But I felt like I wanted to take this easy because I had already done so much, and I wanted to make this easier on myself. So as far as starting goes, I'd say connect with somebody like Brian Couch, turn the lock, and then intermittent fasting is a really great tool, and these exogenous ketones have really taken the pressure off just my day-to-day routine. and being able to stay in line with what I need to do to accomplish my goals.
That's super awesome. You mentioned a 8-16. For those of y'all that don't know, out of a 24-hour period, she's eating in an 8-hour window, maybe from when?
From
About maybe like
12 to 8 usually. And if,
usually
a little later, maybe I'll start at 2 and maybe, I'll still stop at 8. My body is used to stopping eating at 8 now. But yeah, some days it'll be like an 18-6 schedule, but I try to increase it. And then every once a month, I'll do a keto reboot as well, which of course is awesome.
So if you want to know a little bit more details about intermittent fasting, about the ketones she's talking about what a keto reboot is, and really, I would recommend joining our keto-friendly community. Around this video, there should be some details, maybe like a link or something that you can click on, some directions you can follow so that you can get into this keto community. But what I was going to share, a friend of mine was actually at a fasting conference, learning from different researchers, people who have case studies and stuff coming forward about different forms of fasting. And it was really funny. It was at 1:30 p.m. They had a break, and it was a break for a breakfast reception because you're breaking your fast. And so pretty much everybody there is on that same kind of eating schedule where they typically don't have their first meal until afternoon. And so they had their 1:30 p.m. breakfast. I just thought that was super cool that it was like written in there in the schedule, 1:30 p.m. breakfast reception. Well, yeah. So I know that you've got to run, Dana. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you so much for sharing. If you had one last tip for somebody, what they could do to really help themselves get moving on this a little faster, what would that be?
I'd say take the leap. I'm a really reasonable person, and I had a lot of skepticism coming into this, and my results don't lie. And the millions of people that seem to be hopping on this train, I feel like their results don't lie either. And it's just something that you have to go for. And I know it's easy to be skeptical, especially if you're somebody who's tried so many different things. But this is the way. This is the real way. And I'd say just go for it.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dana. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.